What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the third or fourth Culture Quickie. I am Jordan Nahisi.
Brought to you by Tony's daycare assistant Mo. Because if he not gonna do a goddamn thing, then I might have to.
She might have to come in and be a supervisor and micromanage. But thank y'all joining us so much. You gotta hold that mic up, bro, because we can't hear you if you can't hold it up. But
It's like right there in my mouth.
There we go.
I got the whole tip on it. Pause.
Pause. But thank y'all so much for joining us for this spontaneous pod. It's probably going to be dropped either Sunday night or Monday morning. Probably Monday morning. But thank y'all so much for joining us. It seems like every time we drop a pod, like an actual show, something else happens after we drop the pod. So, but this time it was absolutely necessary to cover it because there's a lot that's going on. So the first thing is first. So it turns out that AEW All in London has officially broken the all-time paid attendance record for a professional wrestling event. I believe the last time I checked, it was about 80,800 plus tickets were sold, whereas the previous record held by WWE for WrestleMania 32 was, I believe, 80,700 and something. So AEW has officially surpassed WrestleMania 32. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. How do you feel about All In breaking this record? All in London breaking this record? How big of a deal it is?
I think it's fucking huge. Shout out to London, by the way. I feel like this is like the type of fan base where I feel like since they know wrestling kind of is like, few far in between to like come over there, that like when it comes time to represent, the London fans, not even just London, Europe in general, always pulls through. So I think that's pretty awesome. And I feel like if anyone ever thought that AEW can't compete with WWE, well, you may want to rethink that, just because that's huge. It's not like you could just say like they broke like a SummerSlam or a Royal Rumble or something like that. Like breaking WrestleMania is insane. And we know how WWE loves inflating their numbers and stuff like that. So the fact that they broke an uninflated number is bonkers. Is actually fucking bonkers. So congratulations to them. What do you think about it?
To kind of piggyback off of what you're saying, it's definitely a big deal. Them breaking the WrestleMania 32 record literally 4 years after the inception of the company is bonkers. It's wild. And I think it kind of changes the perspective of how we view AEW in comparison to WWE. I personally don't think that the two are in competition per se, because you can kind of see like there's times where WWE gives AEW permission to do stuff. There's AEW giving WWE permission to do stuff. And I feel like if either company was in real competition with each other, these things wouldn't be happening. But I feel like this kind of reframes this whole idea of AEW being secondary. I just think that AEW can either is or can be just as big as WWE. The only difference is that they are they're just catering to a different audience, right? Like, WWE kind of caters to that family audience, whereas AEW kind of caters to the hardcore wrestling fan. And because of that, they're able to pack out the arenas just like WWE is doing. They're able to pack out stadiums just like WWE is doing. And because they have used these past 4 years to kind of super serve their audience and super serve their niche, this is what you get. Not to mention that I feel like even though the Jesus, I don't know why I'm blanking right now.
It's Sunday, bro.
It is Sunday, and that's the reason why that's a fact. I should be asleep right now. But I overall, my takeaway is just like, I think we just kind of need to reframe how we view All Elite Wrestling, because clearly a secondary company doesn't sell out stadiums. They don't I don't care like how new a company is. If it's not good, it's not good. And so the fact that they're able to kind of accomplish this feat 4 years into them being an actual full-blown wrestling company with everything that's been going on with them, I think is a very, very huge accomplishment. So Shout outs to AEW. Shout outs to All In. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Like, even though the card wasn't announced when the majority of the tickets were sold, I think that a lot of people kind of expected to see certain people on the card just because of how enormous the event is, right? I feel like people just kind of guessed, well, Kenny Omega is going to be there, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, CM Punk, all the guys, Adam Cole, MJF, all these like players that, you know, AEW's kind of pushed to the forefront. They kind of expected we're going to be there. They just didn't know how. And now we know the full card and we'll be giving our predictions later on in the week. But yeah, I think this is a very, very big deal. But I just kind of want to know what everybody else's opinion is that AEW All In London has officially broken the paid attendance record for a professional wrestling event. It's wild. Congratulations to Tony Khan. Congratulations to AEW. This is a very, very huge accomplishment. But that's not the only AEW thing that came out this weekend. So on Friday, it was reported that is it Cash Wheeler? Cash Wheeler was arrested. Because he was caught up in a road rage incident in which he flashed a handgun. When he was brought in, they kind of got to the bottom of it, and they said that it was a road rage incident. They said that he didn't actually pull the gun on him. He just kind of flashed the gun to this person that I guess he was having this incident with. However, he has a bond that's set at, I believe, $2,500. It does not ban him from leaving the country. It's just kind of like an ongoing case, I guess you can say. But obviously, this incident and the news of his arrest set the wrestling world on fire because one of the matches that were announced for All In and one of the most anticipated matches was FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And that was kind of in question and kind of in jeopardy. Now, the UK can ban him from entering the country, but I highly doubt that that's going to happen. But this is something on his, something that he has to deal with once he comes back to the States. I kind of wanted to know your take about it, how you felt about Cash Wheeler's arrest. And, now that we know that the match is still going to happen, what are your opinions on all of this happening?
I just also had to ask, was it confirmed that Tony knew about this or he just now found out about this?
To be honest, I still don't know. I have to do a little bit of digging. I don't know if he knew about it per se. All we know is that, there was another gun-related incident pertaining to Cash Wheeler that Tony did not know about, but that Cash Wheeler knew about. But that's just an alleged thing that's not necessarily concrete set in stone type of situation, if that makes sense.
I just think both is terrible, whether he had known or did not know, just because I feel like he's currently holding the belts from my understanding, right?
Correct.
I just feel like the second a company puts that privilege to put the belt on you, it's not just a bonus in your check. You are chosen to be the representative of the company. And I feel like you should keep that in mind, whether you're on the clock, off the clock, doing media related stuff, how you carry yourself on social media. I feel like it's a 24-hour job to be a wrestler. And them going to London is huge. Them going international is huge. It's just an accomplishment for AEW. And I just feel as though if you knew that you are a champion, and I understand that, yeah, I get road rage too, people. I get angry. I curse people out before, you know what I mean? There's been times where I done threatened to swing on the road. It happens. But the idea of just even pulling out a gun to me is just wild. Because it's just in that moment, you put yourself above your company. You could have jeopardized that whole card. Potentially, you could have jeopardized more business plans working forward between Tony Khan working international or whatnot. Because think about what if London just said, "Oh, we don't want this guy because we don't trust him. We don't want wrestlers infiltrating our countries that find it okay to pull out weapons on people and whatnot." I just feel like it's selfish and it's a reflection of how Tony Khan has been running his daycare hence the name, people, because I feel like if there was a more intimidating boss, then there would have been parameters here to know what the fuck I can be doing and what I can't be doing, because
Right.
it's going to jeopardize my job and or the company. It's a lack of respect for everyone involved is what I feel like. So it's not just about the fact that he did potentially, threaten someone else's life by even like flashing the gun, but it's just the idea that you really don't give a fuck about your opportunity with this belt. You don't respect your boss. I don't think you quite really respect this promotion, because now this like 2 years in a row where like the card almost felt like it was up in the air
Right.
because of a wrestler feeling entitled. And I feel like a lot of the wrestlers that go to AEW like go through there because they feel like it's like a free land for them to do whatever the fuck that they want to do, because Tony Khan is so nice and understanding, and at the end of the day he's a mark. He's more of a mark than a boss. So I just feel like people just be feeling like it's okay to do whatever the fuck. And I feel like Tony's response honestly should have been to take his ass right off the card. There's enough matches on the card that I feel like the rest of the show would like be amazing. You know what I mean? I don't think we necessarily needed that. I mean, the match itself would have been exciting to see, but I feel like if I was Tony, if I would have had enough. I would have had enough and used him as an example, and might have either suspended or fired him, because I feel like that locker room needs to be shooken up a little bit. I feel like everything that they do is almost like spilled milk, and that they don't think there's repercussions for their actions. So I'm pissed. I'm very much pissed. I don't think he should be going to London. But at the same time, Tony Khan's a businessman. So maybe in his head, he thinks that this is what the fans pay to see. I got to give them what they wanted to see. And maybe afterwards, he might receive some punishment. But I feel like they need to bring back wrestlers' courts. I think motherfuckers need to get punished again. I think people should, to some weird degree, this is going to sound really fucked up, people. I see to some degree why Vince was punishing people on television. I totally see it now. Because motherfuckers just be doing whatever they want to do.
Fact.
And I be damned if someone gonna ruin my company because they're gonna put themselves above me. The hell, I'm paying you. I'm paying you. Why do I feel like I gotta clean up everyone else's messes around here?
Right.
Like, Tony needs to grow a spine. Grow a spine, please. Like, give me the goddamn job. I'll straighten everybody the fuck out in 24 hours. All right, you're fired. You're fine. Take the belt off of you. You lost your match opportunity. Y'all, parameters. Parameters are rules, people. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit hot.
That
Jordan,
was good.
how do you feel about this?
Nah, I don't mind at all, because to be honest, I kind of echo your sentiment. The only thing that I don't echo is I feel like that's a match that should be on the card because of how it's been built over the last some odd years. The whole idea of a FTR Young Bucks trilogy is part of the reason why the FTR came to AEW in the first place, in order to have like these series of matches with these guys. I also just feel like this is something that fans in London would love to see. And I feel like it's part of what makes this event so special, is that you're having arguably the biggest tag team match of all time with two of the most decorated tag teams of this generation in the biggest, can't believe I'm saying this with legitimacy, the biggest pro wrestling event of all time, if we're just basing it off of paid attendance records. So I do see the value in them having the match. However, I do believe that there needs to be parameters and punishment in place after this match takes place. I just, like you said, like this is kind of a reflection of how I believe the company is ran. And it's so interesting because, we were in the group chat. Whitney was talking about the Usos and their DUI and stuff like that. And I think that that's indicative of how WWE runs their company. But I think that this is kind of telling of how AEW runs their company. And in my opinion, if, you're willing to let this slide, I think it's kind of indicative of the fact that you let so much slide and that so many people feel like, it's one thing to be like to have one too many drinks and think, okay, I just got to get home and I'll be all right. And then you get caught by the cops. It's another thing to, by choice, flash a gun to someone. It's like it wasn't even in self-defense. It wasn't even in self-defense. It wasn't even like somebody was backing out the grip on you. You just wanted to do a pride move. You just wanted your ego stroked, and you wanted to show cats, yeah, I got it on me. And ooh, you know what? I wasn't gonna go here, but I'm gonna go here. So
Go
crazy
here.
how
Go right the
so
fuck there.
crazy.
I'll meet you.
It's crazy, and I just find it funny that no one is when this incident first happened, everybody's first instinct was to talk about, man, the match was ruined. But it wasn't a matter of, ooh, Cash Wheeler is uncivil. He's a degenerate. He's this, that, and the third. Let this have been Bobby Lashley. Let this have been Montez Ford. Let this have been a black wrestler, and we would not have heard the end of it. But I'm going to get back to my main point. I just feel like it's just interesting that it's one of those, he has a move, and guess what? We all do make mistakes. And I'm not saying that he's a bad person, that he has a bad character. I'm just saying the public response and the public reply to an incident like this speaks volumes about the culture of pro wrestling. And, you know, I just think that he does need to be punished after all is said and done. I think that the Young Bucks are going to win anyway, especially since they just signed those big contract extensions. But like you said, these are things and incidents in which it jeopardizes the entire company. It jeopardizes the tag team division. It jeopardizes the product. It jeopardizes talks of an extension. It jeopardizes your relationship with your network. It jeopardizes your relationship with the rest of the roster based on how you treat this incident. And the fact that all of this is happening is, once again, as much as we kind of look down on the order that Vince, or the I would say the dictator like hand that Vince McMahon allegedly had on the locker room, you can see why he had that hand. It's because he knows that there needs to be a sense of order one way or another, and if you do not kind of if you're not intentional with how you instruct that order, or if you don't have any order at all chaos is going to break loose. I also think this is the first time where I agree with Eric Bischoff when he said that AEW is just WCW 2.0, because in WCW it was way less mild mannered and like on a much smaller scale, but you still have the inmates running the asylum. Whether we want to talk about WCW and how Hogan and Nash and Hall, God rest his soul, were having their way and doing what they wanted and how they wanted, what's the difference between that and this, in the sense of, you want guys to have creative control, but like they're using kind of, let me say this, it's different. I definitely see that it is different. However, it's the same root of the problem, which is that when you give people a sense of power, they exploit it. And I feel like that same thing that was happening in WCW, as far as the idea of wrestlers having a little bit of power and exploiting it, it's happening in AEW, just in in an unruly way. So that's how I feel about that. But I wanted to know.
I just want to interject real quick, because when you mentioned the whole, of course, because yeah, he's a white man, he could get away with this shit. It made me think about MJF's tweet that he said. And I just wanted to read it off to the listeners, just because I want to get your take on it out loud. So MJF decided to interject and put his thoughts about a situation that he was not part of.
Right.
And I thought it was just very telling. And just to piggyback off of what Jordan was mentioning earlier, he had to say the following, that he's kind of disappointed on how many dorks there are on this app that jump to conclusions so quick, and that a ton of people's privileges is showing that we're human, we're all flawed, we all make mistakes. Take it from a guy who's made more mistakes than Moe's. I had my ups and downs with FTR, but Cash Wheeler is a great dude and a badass. You're getting FTR versus Young Bucks in front of 80K plus on August 27th. Talk about that, you dweebs. I just find that insane for a couple of reasons. A, why did you interject yourself into this beef, sir? Like, it had nothing to do with you. I understand it's your friends and stuff like that, but like, he's also someone who's in a very high position. Sometimes I just feel like people need to just understand. The best thing to do in this situation is to just shut the fuck up in general, because you might also stop your bag as well, Mr. Maxwell, by even trying to open up your mouth. You have something to say?
Yes. Here's what I was going to say. I respect Maxwell's stance in the sense that he is the AEW world champion, and and because of that, it's alleged, or not alleged, but assumed that once you hold that world championship, you are in a sense a locker room leader. And I get that he wants to set the tone and like show grace and this, that, and the third. But this idea that like, oh, well, you dorks are just, and y'all are rushing to conclude. No, 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 no. This is a public record. Bro got arrested, my boy. He got put in cuffs. The report is online. We're not rushing to any conclusions. Like, this is public information. He got arrested. He flashed a handgun. And when you are dealing with things like that, you run the risk of not leaving the country when you're caught in a case like that. And some countries do not tolerate that, right? Like, there are some countries that won't let you into their country if you do have a gun charge, aka Canada. Like, come on now. So it's just like, this is not about a rushing to conclusion type of thing. So I just wanted to put that out there. But we're going to talk more about this later in the week when we actually have a full blown show. But we want to know how y'all feel about this Cash Wheeler arrest. But we're going to be moving on because allegedly, we just witnessed Edge's last match. Edge this past week on SmackDown had his last match not his last match, but had a match against Sheamus in front of the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. After the match, he went on to say he does know for a fact, he doesn't know like what the future holds. He does know that this is probably going to be his last time performing in front of that specific crowd. So one can assume that he was talking about Toronto. And so if that's the case, is he staying in WWE? Is he retiring in WWE? Is he going to AEW? What's next for Edge? So I wanted to kind of know briefly, Mo, what do you think is next for Edge? Does he stay in WWE and retire? Does he go to AEW for a little run and then retire? What's going on?
I don't think that's his last match. I mean, he said he doesn't even know. But I don't think that there's really anything for him to do in WWE. Like, I feel like when I was anticipating Edge coming back, I had a different idea in mind. I left off on the person that we all seen, the heel rated R version of Edge. And we kind of got like a dad version of him, a very baby-faced dad version. And I feel like because that's just the version we got presented of with Edge, his goal ultimately with WWE was to get some guys over to work with a few people to create a few things. He did leave doing a lot. I will give him his flowers for that. But I do feel like if this is what all's gonna get out of Edge, I kind of do want to see him still wrestle, but I want to see him do something else. I don't, if you're not going to give me like the rated R that I had like back then, and you're going to give me like this boring shit that I had gone on in WWE, I feel as though it wouldn't really hurt if he went to AEW, but instead of him having a singles run, since I kind of don't care to see him have too many singles runs, I would actually love to see him just tag up with Christian again and them take over the tag team division. Like, I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, like, he shouldn't go to AEW, because he's basically WWE coded, which he is, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing, because not for nothing. In some ways, Dynamite, I look at Dynamite and Collision being so different from each other. I feel like Dynamite reminds me of WWE, and then Collision is like when I actually want to see like the indie type shit, but it's like, it's full on like wrestling as opposed to the entertainment. I feel like you could really do something with Edge and Christian and put them on Dynamite together. Have them take over the tag team division. Have them uplift everyone. I want to see them work with younger people and help get them over. Maybe like create more character and stories out of the tag team division. So I feel like he should do that, to be honest. I don't really care to see him work with any other younger people here with WWE. But the only thing is that, I was watching that Edge match, and it wasn't a bad match. It really wasn't. Like, there's something to say that was bad about it. It was just slow. And I'm not sure if that has to do with him being safe. And you see the way that the wrestlers wrestle in AEW. They are at lightning speed. And Christian can still go. Christian could actually keep up with those people. Edge, I noticed in general, like, you have to slow down to wrestle with Edge. So that's my only ick if he were to go to AEW. Does everyone have to adjust and wrestle super duper slow? Because he wrestles very classic. Very, very classic like. So I don't know how he's going to balance well where everyone that likes to do flips and tricks and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But do I still want to see him do something? Yes, I do want to see Edge do something. And do I think that with my heart and soul he's going to AEW? Not immediately. But I feel like I need to see an Edge and Christian appearance one more time because you cannot just cock tease me and leave me off of what I saw at that one Royal Rumble. That was criminal.
Right.
Give me that. Just give me that and I'll shut all the way the fuck up. All right. But what did you think?
You know, it's interesting because I started off thinking, he's just going to call it quits. But now that I think about it, it does make sense for him to go to AEW. One of the things he kind of mentioned was that he has to talk it over with his family. His contract expires in September. We don't know when in September. That could be September 1st or it could be September 30th. God knows when. But, you know, I think that it's just when it comes to Edge, he said that before he retires, he wants to have a run with Christian. There was one time some weird stalker guy on the internet was like stalking Christian and like saw him meeting with a WWE official. But I think it's more likely for Edge to go to
Said a weirdo, by the way.
Yeah, super weird. But I think it's more realistic for Edge to go to AEW than it is for Christian to go to WWE. And I feel like when it comes to that last run with Edge and Christian, I think that if Edge were to go to AEW, there are some things that I would like to see for the last time. Edge and Christian versus the Young Bucks. Edge and Christian versus the Hardys. Edge and Christian versus FTR. We know that Edge has a personal relationship with FTR as a tag team. So there are some possibilities there. And I think that that's a very, very realistic goal for him to go to AEW. I think he's done everything that he could in WWE between the establishment of the Judgment Day. His matches with Seth were great. His work with AJ was really, really good. He came to WWE and he did what he was supposed to do. And he did what he said that he was going to do. He put over Roman Reigns. Like he was a part of some pretty big moments in the last 3 to 4 years of pro wrestling in WWE, I should say. So I definitely think that the next move for him would be AEW. Now, the question bigger than that is, do you think that he'll show up at All Out in Chicago?
Oh, that'd be nasty.
That would be crazy.
That'd be so nasty, but I could see Tony doing it.
I could see it too.
I could see him finessing that. Because Edge has nothing to lose. Like, it's not like he didn't give to WWE. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They gave WWE like one of their a top 10 moment that will go down in history with his return at the Royal Rumble. You know, he created a whole behind faction that's now taking on a whole life of its own. He put on some classics while in WWE, worked with some top stars. And he even went down to NXT. Like, he blessed them. Like, he did everything he had to do. So I don't think he's risking anything if he goes to AEW. Because it's not really out of disrespect. If by your theory, as you were stating earlier, they're not actually against one another in competition. Because if it's another one of those where it's just they kind of just scratching each other's backs, you know, I don't think that's a bad move. You know, it's kind of almost like cross promoting, if you will. Like, hey, like we had Edge for a little bit. Now we're gonna let you borrow him. You know what I mean? We're gonna give you all the star power.
Right. I think that'll be a good move. But yeah, that was literally the perfect way to end it. So we want to know what y'all feel. Do you think Edge is retiring or is he going to AEW? Let us know in the comments. But that concludes another Culture Quickie. We had to do this one and get this one out the way because there was a lot of stuff going on in wrestling this past week. But we'll see y'all this Thursday on another episode for our All In special. We'll see y'all on Thursday. Bye.